In June of 2018, a young indigenous mother stepped out of a bar in downtown Missoula, Montana, and was never seen again. Her name was Jermain Charlo, and what happened to her that night remains one of the most disturbing mysteries of our time. Jermain Charlo, known by her family as Liz, was just 23 years old. She was a loving mother of 2 young boys, a member of the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes, and someone with big dreams. Raised on the Flathead Reservation in Montana, she loved animals, nature, and her community. She hoped to attend the Institute of American Indian Arts and build a better life for her children. But all of that came to a sudden, unexplained halt one night in Missoula. The story begins on the night Jermain was last seen. On June 15, 2018, she went out to the Badlander, a bar in downtown Missoula. Around midnight, she was captured on surveillance footage in the alley behind the bar, standing with her ex-boyfriend Michael DeFrance, the father of her children. They were seen walking away together. That was the last known sighting of Jermain Charlo. When asked where they went next, DeFrance initially told investigators and Jermain's family that he dropped her off at the Orange Street Food Farm, a supermarket just a few minutes away. Later, he changed his story. He claimed he had actually dropped her off in a residential neighborhood 8 blocks west of the store, where she supposedly planned to stay with a friend named Cassidy. But that detail didn't add up. Detectives couldn't find any friend named Cassidy in Jermain's life. In reality, she had planned to stay at her current boyfriend Jacob's apartment while he was out of town. Her family believes she may have lied to DeFrance about Cassidy to avoid revealing her relationship with Jacob. Around 1 a.m., Jacob tried calling her phone, but she never picked up. He said the call rang several times, then went to voicemail. He suspected someone deliberately declined the call. Though Jacob was never considered a suspect, he was out of state that night. He told detectives that the day before, Jermain had confided in him. She said Michael DeFrance had been yelling at her, asking if she was seeing someone and saying he wanted to get back together. On June 17th, Jermain's mother reported her missing to the tribal police department on the Flathead Reservation. Because she disappeared in Missoula, the case had to be reported to the Missoula Police Department in person. On June 20th, Jermain's aunt, Valenda Morijo, drove to Missoula and filed the report herself. Not content to wait, her family took matters into their own hands. They reached out to the Lifeguard Group, a local organization. Volunteers joined in the effort, launching search parties that would continue for months and even years. We've told the family that we're not going to stop, no matter what, and we will search for Jermain as if she's alive until we find her, said Lowell Hochhalter, co-founder of the Lifeguard Group.
God brings hope, and whatever is done in the dark will be brought out in the light. Even if we find her not alive, that we can find whoever killed her to bring them to justice. Her boys don't know where she is. One day your mom's home and you're so little that you don't understand, like, that she's gone missing, and that you just don't understand, like, why she's not home with you every night.
On June 26th, 10 days after she disappeared, Detective Guy Baker was assigned to the case. He would lead the investigation for the next 6 years, and he remains committed to this day. "I'm very much committed to finding her," Baker said. "I want to bring justice to Jermain and hold accountable who's responsible." The following day, June 27th, investigators obtained data from Jermain's phone. The phone had pinged in the early morning hours of June 16th between 2 a.m. and 10 a.m., not in Missoula, but 14 miles north, in a rugged, forested region called Avaro Hill. At the time, that's where Michael DeFrance lived. He had told police he dropped her off near the city around 1 a.m., so why was her phone up north hours later? Eventually, DeFrance admitted her phone was with him. He said she left it behind, and he tried to unlock it. Then, on June 18th, while her family was frantically calling law enforcement, He threw the phone out of his truck at mile marker 94 on Highway 12 in Idaho. Law enforcement searched the area, but the phone was never found. When asked why he threw it away, DeFrance gave no clear motive. Investigators requested an interview through his attorney, but DeFrance declined to speak. That same day, police visited DeFrance's home and spoke with his mother, Jennifer DeFrance. She told officers that Jermain had never been to their house, but also added that her son was still in love with Jermain and wanted her back. Throughout the summer, detectives even explored the possibility that Jermain had been trafficked. "We had some information early on that there might have been some people in Missoula from out of state that were trying to buy a girl," Baker said. But eventually, they ruled out trafficking. Prosecutor Brittany Williams stated, "I think we have enough evidence through this investigation that lends itself to believe something else happened to her." On August 2nd, 2018, officers filed a search warrant for DeFrance's Avaro Hill property. They requested ground and aerial surveillance, including thermal imaging. The search was conducted, but results were never publicly released. Charlo was still missing, and DeFrance remained uncharged in her disappearance. In October 2018, officers returned to search the property again. This time, they found firearms. DeFrance wasn't allowed to own any. He had a prior conviction for domestic assault against Jermain in 2013. According to police reports, he had hit her with an open hand, then with his fist. He shoved her onto a van, punched her in the head, and spat in her face. In 2013, he pled guilty and lost his right to possess firearms. So in 2018, police confiscated those weapons. In July 2021, the FBI arrested DeFrance for possession of firearms. He was later charged with 4 federal counts and found guilty in October 2021. He was sentenced to 21 months in prison in 2023, but never served the sentence. DeFrance appealed the conviction. On December 30th, 2024, the Ninth Circuit Court overturned the case, ruling that his prior Montana conviction didn't qualify under federal law. This ruling now risks setting a dangerous precedent for domestic violence victims in Montana. To this day, no one has been charged in Jermain Charlo's disappearance, but the investigation continues. Detective Baker says the case has never gone cold. "I guess when I see that billboard, I'm frustrated. I've never worked a case like this before. We've tried to turn over every rock possible." That billboard, placed by Jermain's family in October 2018, still stands. Her eyes watch over the road, haunting every driver who passes by. As of 2025, Jermain Charlo is still missing. Police now consider her case a homicide, but without a body, they can't press charges. Her family no longer believes she's alive, but they do believe she can be found. Bringing her home and letting her rest with our family up on the hill, that would be justice, said her aunt Danny Matt. "I will never stop looking for her," added Valenda Morijo. "I want other families to know it's okay to keep pushing, keep their name out there. We have to fight for justice for our loved ones."
Never stop fighting to bring justice to the women who are gone on. Never stop looking for those loved ones that are still missing.
If you have any information about what happened to Jermain Charlo, please call Detective Guy Baker at the Missoula Police Department. Contact 406-552-6284. Cortney Lake. Cortney Lake grew up in the small town of St. Lawrence, in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador, Canada. In her late teens, she met Jason Pike, the man who'd become the father of her son, Oliver. But after a 4-year relationship, the two would part ways. Following this, she would meet Philip Smith, and the two would embark on a tumultuous, on-again, off-again relationship. Just months before Cortney disappeared, Smith called her mother, despite a no-contact order, and stated that he planned to kill himself. Lisa subsequently called his sister, and while he ended up in hospital, Smith survived the suicide attempt. Lisa recalled, "If I had ignored that phone call, or if I hadn't called his sister, Cortney would be here. and Philip wouldn't. I got so much guilt built up over that. Cortney was last seen on June 7, 2017, just before 8 p.m., when she climbed into the passenger side of Smith's black pickup truck. At the time, Cortney, 24, was broken up with Smith, 25, but he still had some of her belongings, specifically a set of Christmas ornaments. An article from CBC News noted that the last time Cortney had gone to collect her things from Smith's house, he had boxed up her possessions and set them on fire in his front garden. Everything was burned, except those missing Christmas ornaments. According to her mother, Lisa Lake, he sent her a message and said, "If you want your Christmas stuff, I will come and get you. You come to my house, we'll go through it, and I will bring you back." It was this text message that led Cortney to climb into his truck on June 7th. Dash cam footage from another vehicle showed her waiting on the pavement of Myshiner Avenue in Mount Pearl before entering the truck as it pulled up next to her. She has never been seen again, and all activity on her phone and social media stopped at this time. Notably, Smith had recently been in court, where he had pleaded guilty to assaulting Cortney, distributing intimate images of her, and breaching prior orders to stay away from her and her mother. But he was released from police custody that afternoon. He returned to court 2 days after she disappeared, for once more violating a court order to stay away from his ex-girlfriend. In the months following Cortney's disappearance, on November 1st, 2017, Lisa was awoken by the sound of someone knocking heavily at her front door. When she opened it, she found 2 police detectives who told her that Smith was dead. He had taken his own life near a cabin in a wooded area in Bellevue and left no notes behind. His body was found by the RCMP after his family alerted the police to tell them he had called them to say he was going to kill himself. Although investigators secured the nearby area, thinking that perhaps Cortney's body had been buried there, they found no trace of the missing 24-year-old. Initially, following Smith's death, the grief of Cortney's family was renewed. The one person they believed could give them answers was now no longer able to. However, in the years since, the police have stated their belief that there are people who know more than they are letting on, and that they are purposely withholding information. Investigators observed that of the more than 100 people interviewed as part of the case, some gave contradicting statements in a bid to cover for Smith. Their statements could be disproved by evidence, such as photos and videos. Lisa stated, several statements that they have taken from people were very deceitful, of places and times. People trying to vouch for Philip, it was later proven to be untrue. There have been no major updates in Cortney's case in the years since. In 2022, her ex-boyfriend Jason Pike made headlines when he became the victim of several arson attempts, after 2 of his vehicles, along with a motorbike, were set on fire. He stated that he believes he is being targeted by people who think he had something to do with Cortney's disappearance. Cortney's case is still unsolved. She was last seen on June 7, 2017, climbing into a black GMC pickup truck on Myshiner Avenue in Mount Pearl, Newfoundland and Labrador, Canada. She is described as a white woman with brown hair and brown eyes. She is 5 feet 8 inches tall and weighed between 110 and 120 pounds at the time of her disappearance. She was last seen wearing grey and white Nike trainers and a grey, white and pink hooded jacket. Anyone with information about her disappearance can contact Crime Stoppers at 1-800-2228-477. Max Greenfield was last seen on March 17, 2018, staying with his family in Brookings, Oregon. He had a routine, crossing the state line into Smith River, California, to visit the Lucky 7 casino. On March 16th, he shared a drink with his sister, Tanya. Then she dropped him off at their mother Andrea's house. As usual, Andrea laid out his medication on the kitchen counter and said goodnight around 10 p.m. The next morning, when Andrea left for work at 6 a.m., those pills were still there, completely untouched. But that wasn't alarming. Max rarely woke that early. He and Tanya had plans to see a movie that afternoon, yet when Tanya texted to confirm, there was no reply. By 2 p.m., Andrea came home to the same sight. The medication still on the counter, exactly as she'd left it. Heart pounding, she called Tanya. No sign of Max. They checked with friends, but no one had seen him. 2 days later, Andrea filed a missing person report with the Curry County Sheriff's Office. Then investigators discovered Max had texted friends after arriving home, asking for a ride back to the casino. Casino CCTV shows Max walking in at around 1 a.m. He steps back outside through the rear door, and at 1:50 a.m., he's captured speaking with a man. They exchange a few words, then walk south across the parking lot, together. And that's the last anyone saw of Max Greenfield. The man in the footage told police they parted ways after leaving the casino, but detectives believe something went terribly wrong soon after. Today, Max's family is offering a $5,000 reward for any information that leads to answers. Max is described as 6 feet tall, about 160 pounds, with brown hair and blue eyes, and a distinctive skeleton key tattoo on his left forearm. He wore black jeans, a dark t-shirt, a black jacket, and a black beanie that night, carrying a black duffel bag. If you know anything, please call Detective Jaron Gill at 707-465-2468. Someone out there holds the missing piece. Let's bring Max home. In September of 2021, Scottish police held a press conference and announced that they were undertaking a large-scale search and rescue operation in hopes of finding 21-year-old Patrick Lapinsky, who was last seen on September 5, 2021. CCTV footage shows Patrick and his red Hyundai i20 at a gas station at around 1:15 a.m. The footage shows Patrick walking into the station, paying for his fuel, and then leaving. After this, there have been no sightings of him, and his friends and family are desperate for answers. According to the Scottish police, Patrick is believed to have been headed for the Scottish Highlands, which is a 2.5-hour drive. During the search, Patrick's car was found abandoned in the area. However, the details surrounding this have not been released to the public. The police have not indicated whether they believe foul play is involved, but they're asking for anyone with information to come forward. There are no mentions of the condition of Patrick's car, and people in Scotland are beginning to suspect that other important details are being withheld. Why would someone fill up their car with fuel, only to drive to a location 2.5 hours away and abandon it? As time goes on, Patrick's case becomes colder and leaves more questions than answers. Patrick is described as a white male, 6 feet 2 inches, with blonde hair and glasses. He was last seen at a gas station, wearing a blue t-shirt, jeans, and dark shoes. If you have any information, you're asked to contact 101 or Crime Stoppers at 08 005 55 111. Susana Torres Salto went missing on April 11, 2021, between 5:35 and 5:50 p.m., when her last moments were caught on camera. The surveillance footage gave crime scene investigators a better understanding of what happened, but not a better understanding of where the missing young mother of 2 could be found. Susana, 32 years old, had obtained the temporary restraining order against her ex-husband, Javier Chavez. In the CCTV recording, caught on April 11th, Susana is led by a man into the driver's seat of a silver Chevrolet. He was later identified as Javier Chavez in a clear violation of the restraining order. In a strange but true twist, the incident was caught on camera exactly 1 day before she was scheduled to go before a judge and make the temporary restraining order permanent. According to true crime reports, both of Susana's children were in the back seat of the car that night. They were dropped off at Javier's parents' house sometime around 10 p.m. What happened to Susana remains an untold story, and she's vanished without a trace ever since. Allegations made by her family state that they had tried to contact the police in the past about Javier violating the restraining order, only to be told nothing could be done until Susana was in immediate danger. Investigators have listed Susana's case as an active missing person investigation. They have reason to believe that Javier brought Susana across the border to Mexico, where he may still be holding her captive. Anyone with any missing information on this unsolved case is asked to call the Cal Sheriff's Office to speak with Detective Summerton at 209-525-7032 in English, or Detective S in Spanish at 209-652-1792. You can also remain anonymous by calling Crime Stoppers at 209-521-4636. Sophie Elizabeth Reer was born in 2002 to Patrick Reer and Nicole Twist. At the age of 15, she lived in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, with her father because her parents had recently divorced. She was described as having a smile that lit up her face, but her loved ones believed she was possibly suffering from anxiety and depression. She was also known to be rebellious and stubborn at times. During her parents' nasty custody war, Sophie was adamant about living with her father, Patrick. During the late-night hours of May 19, 2017, her father asked her to go to sleep when he found her pacing the floor. He went to bed, not knowing this might be the last time he would ever see his daughter. Unbeknownst to him, she left home soon after and began walking. The next morning, he woke up to find Sophie missing and notified police. The police checked her bedroom and found some cash in a bag near her bed, which indicated that she did not run away, and also found a candle burning in her room. During the initial investigation, a surveillance video from a neighbor's home showed her walking alone, wearing headphones, a black mini dress, a faux fur jacket, and red Converse shoes. She was seen heading eastbound, past a business, between the 100 and 400 blocks of West Davie Boulevard. She appeared to be taking her time, having no purpose, although some speculate that it appeared she was looking for a particular address. The police were able to trace her movements until her phone died or was turned off at Southwest 18th Avenue, over 2 miles away. There was an apartment complex near where Sophie's cell phone was no longer traceable, and authorities learned that she knew someone who lived there. Eventually, investigators received a search warrant for the location, but it's reported that nothing viable was found that would help in her disappearance. It was also discovered that she had been researching sugar daddy websites, which are dating sites. Her mother also alleged that her disappearance had something to do with Sophie's friend circle, social media, and her talking to the wrong people, as she found stockings, garter belts, alcohol, and drugs in Sophie's bedroom. Prior to her disappearance, Sophie often hung out in the area of Stranahan High School, which she had attended for a short period. She had transferred to a virtual school and took classes online with her computer. Evidence on her computer has led authorities to believe she may have been the victim of a human trafficker or online predators. Investigators think she was in contact with 2 men in the vicinity of where her phone last pinged, and the men were involved in drugs and trafficking. Sophie has never been found, and this case remains unsolved. The disappearance of Michael Martin in 2016 has left investigators and his family grasping for answers, describing the case as if he vanished into thin air. At just 25 years old, Michael's sudden disappearance is believed to be tied to a larger web of criminal activity, making it one of the more perplexing cases in recent years. Michael was last seen in the early hours of August 7th. The night before, he had been spotted with an associate in various areas of Bolton city centre. This associate was reportedly connected to a criminal organisation involved in high-value robberies and the illegal drug trade. Investigators suspect that, on this night, Michael crossed paths with several other individuals connected to the same group and may have come into possession of a significant sum of money. The details of what happened later are murky. By midnight, Michael and his associate were seen in the nearby town of Kearsley. They had been travelling in Michael's black Ford Focus when the car suddenly stalled in the middle of the street. Witnesses reported the 2 men exiting the vehicle and arguing heatedly. The car key had broken off in the ignition, forcing the pair to jumpstart the vehicle. Michael's associate managed to drive the car to a petrol station, while Michael followed on foot. It was at this petrol station that CCTV captured the last known footage of Michael. The video shows the argument continuing inside the store, with Michael appearing agitated and eager to leave. When his associate refused to leave with him, Michael stormed out of the store, opened the doors to his car, and then abruptly ran off on foot. He was last seen crossing the main road before vanishing into the night. His associate returned to the car and eventually drove off, leaving it abandoned a short time later. Michael's family became alarmed when they couldn't reach him. Though he lived alone, Michael had a close relationship with his father and called him every day without fail. He knew the number by heart, so even if he had lost his phone, he could have found a way to make contact. As the investigation unfolded, Michael's associate was taken into custody but later released without charge. Questions about what happened that night remain unanswered. What became of the money Michael allegedly had? What caused the argument between him and his associate? The police and Michael's family fear the worst, that he may no longer be alive. Still, they hold on to hope that someone knows what happened and can provide answers. Anyone with information about this baffling case is urged to contact Greater Manchester Police at 01618568797 or reach out to Crime Stoppers anonymously. Charlene Hobbs, a 35-year-old woman, disappeared on July 24, 2024, from Riversdale in Cardiff, Wales. Her sudden absence has left her family deeply concerned, and despite ongoing efforts by law enforcement, her whereabouts remain unknown. Authorities have considered multiple possibilities regarding what might have happened to her, but no solid conclusions have been reached. After Charlene was reported missing, investigators launched an extensive search operation covering multiple locations, including residential homes, abandoned buildings, outdoor spaces, and vehicles. However, none of these searches provided any clear leads. Among the unusual findings in the case was a burned-out Nissan Micra, originally red but later repainted black. This vehicle was discovered in St. Helens, near Abeni, and while it is unclear whether Charlene had any connection to the car, authorities have continued to examine its significance in the case. Adding another layer of mystery, 3 individuals, a 43-year-old man, a 45-year-old man, and a 38-year-old woman, were taken into custody in connection with the investigation. However, they were later released on bail, and their identities have not been disclosed to the public. Their exact involvement remains uncertain, but police are continuing to follow all possible leads. CCTV footage captured Charlene at a Morrison's supermarket in Moira Place, Adamstown, shortly before her disappearance. Investigators released an image from this footage in hopes that someone would recognize her or remember seeing her that day, but unfortunately, it did not generate any new leads. A few days later, another photo surfaced, taken with a mobile phone. In this image, Charlene is wearing the same black strapless top and has her hair styled in a bun, just as she appeared in the supermarket footage. This second photo was taken on Broadway, Adamstown, at exactly 6:07 a.m. on July 24th, the day she vanished. However, no one has come forward with any information regarding what happened to her after this moment. Authorities have not disclosed whether the phone used to take the picture belonged to Charlene or someone else. However, they have confirmed that they analyzed a mobile device for further clues. Their investigation revealed that Charlene had made several calls and sent multiple text messages to people she knew on the day she disappeared, possibly arranging to meet with someone. However, it remains unclear whether she successfully spoke to anyone or if she disclosed her location at the time. As the investigation continues, law enforcement officials have assured the public that they are pursuing every possible angle They plan to conduct door-to-door inquiries, speak with Charlene's friends and family, and carefully review CCTV footage from the areas where she was last seen. Despite these efforts, they remain open-minded about the circumstances of her disappearance. Since it is still unknown whether Charlene went missing voluntarily, or if something more sinister took place, police have urged anyone who was in contact with her on July 24th to step forward. Any information, no matter how small, could help piece together her last known movements. Charlene's family is growing increasingly desperate for answers. They have pleaded with the public for help, asking that anyone who sees her or knows anything about her disappearance contact the authorities immediately. While a full physical description has not been released, she was last seen wearing a black strapless top. One of her most recognizable features is a distinctive dragon tattoo located between her shoulder blades. If you have any information about Charlene's movements on the day she went missing, or know where she might be, please call Crime Stoppers at 0800555111 to submit a tip. Your help could be crucial in bringing her home safely. In the wide open spaces of Queensland's Western Downs, a quiet heartbreak was unfolding. This is the story of Taylor Spies, a 29-year-old mother of 3 from Roma, whose sudden disappearance in early 2025 sent shockwaves through her community and left behind a trail of sorrow and unanswered questions. Taylor was full of life, a devoted mother, a sister, a daughter. Every year, without fail, she'd make the emotional trip to visit her late father's roadside memorial. It was a deeply personal tradition. But in 2025, that visit never happened. And that's when her family knew something wasn't right. On the morning of February 2nd, Taylor was last seen leaving the Windsor Hotel in Dalby at 8 a.m., carrying a large red and white spotted bag. She wore a pink long-sleeved shirt and a light-colored shorts. But now, for the first time, we have a clearer look at her movements thanks to newly released CCTV footage obtained by A Current Affair. The footage shows Taylor alone, calm, filling up her white 2017 Toyota Hilux with diesel at the only service station in the tiny town of Condamine, about an hour southwest of Dalby. It's quiet, peaceful. This would be the last time she was ever captured on camera. From there, detectives believe Taylor drove another 90 minutes southwest to the small town of Surat. She met with friends just north of town, and later, her partner. Her vehicle, a dual-cab Toyota Hilux, was again captured on CCTV driving down Surat's main street. And then, she was gone. No more sightings, no more messages, no more signals from her phone. Around 12:10 p.m., her mobile pinged off a tower near Uleba South. After that, complete silence. And that silence was deeply uncharacteristic. Her family knew something was very, very wrong. Taylor's younger sister, Rebecca, was one of the first to raise alarm. In a heartfelt video shared widely online, she pleaded, "Taylor, if you're out there, we love you. Please come home." Her voice trembled with emotion, echoing the anguish felt by everyone who knew and loved Taylor.
My name is Rebecca Spies. I am the sister of Taylor Spies. The pain and enormity of her absence increases with each day that passes, and the worry is consuming us all.
As the hours turned into days, and then weeks, the Queensland Police launched an enormous search effort. It spanned over 9,000 square kilometres, sweeping through Surat, Uleba, Mayandara, and Glenmorgan. But Taylor and her vehicle had vanished without a trace. A family friend even offered a $5,000 reward, hoping someone might come forward with information. Then came the breakthrough. On April 3rd, 2 months after Taylor's disappearance, a local landowner spotted something on his remote property, located along Yulaba-Surat Road, near Norindu and bordering the Yulaba State Forest. It was Taylor's Toyota Hilux. The vehicle was locked. Her personal belongings were inside, including the pink shirt and the spotted bag she was last seen carrying. And about 1 kilometer from the car, police made a devastating discovery: human remains. While formal identification was pending at the time, authorities believed it was Taylor. The landowner who found the vehicle mentioned something chilling. He was sure the car hadn't been there 2 weeks earlier, which raised even more questions. Where had the vehicle been all that time? Who left it there? And how did Taylor end up over a kilometer away from it in the bush? Investigators are still trying to piece it all together. Whether foul play is involved hasn't been confirmed. What we do know is that Taylor's final known movements, captured on CCTV and tracked by phone towers, create a haunting timeline. From Dalby to Condamine to Surat, and then into silence. Her disappearance shattered her family. Her sister Rebecca later shared, "We've lost someone who meant the world to us. We just want answers. We want peace." Taylor's story is not just about a disappearance. It's about a mother who never made it home. It's about a family holding on to hope for as long as they could. And it's about a community that came together, determined to bring her home. Even though the search has ended, the grief, the mystery, and the heartbreak remain. And so do the questions. What happened after Taylor left Surat that day? Did someone follow her? Did she get lost? Or was there something or someone waiting in the silence? Only time and continued investigation will tell. But one thing is certain: Taylor Spies' story matters, and she will not be forgotten. 20-year-old Sudiksha Konanki, a student at the University of Pittsburgh, vanished while vacationing in Punta Cana, Dominican Republic, and despite plenty of clues, she's still nowhere to be found. Her family is desperate for answers. Authorities are frustrated, and one man, the last person to see her, has given contradictory statements about what really happened that night. On March 6th, Sudiksha and her friends were staying at an upscale resort. That night, they went out for drinks at a local bar. CCTV footage shows her laughing, chatting, enjoying the night, until something changes. At one point, she's seen walking toward a pillar, appearing sick, likely from too much alcohol. Still, the night continued. As a power outage hit the bar, the group decided to leave. Cameras later captured Sudiksha walking hand in hand with Joshua Reer, a student from St. Cloud State University in Minnesota. At 4:15 a.m., they headed toward the beach. At 5:50 a.m., their friends left. And from that moment on, Sudiksha was never seen again. When police questioned Joshua Reer, his story kept changing. At first, he claimed Sudiksha entered the water, but the waves were too rough. He says he rescued her. Later, he stated they went separate ways. Then, in another version, he claimed he passed out on the beach, and when he woke up, she was gone. The next morning, at 8:55 a.m., Joshua was caught on security cameras returning to his resort. But something was off. His shirt and shoes, which he had worn at the bar, were missing. A search of the beach led to the discovery of Sudiksha's clothes, neatly left on a lounger. But she was still missing. Reer has been cooperating with authorities, but because he was the last person to see Sudiksha, he remains a person of interest. His passport has been seized, preventing him from leaving the country. His parents are outraged, claiming he's being unjustly detained and questioned without a lawyer or translator. For now, he's confined to his hotel room, only allowed out for police questioning. Initially, the case was thought to be an accidental drowning. But investigators aren't so sure anymore They haven't ruled out foul play, and Joshua's refusal to answer certain questions on the advice of legal counsel has only deepened suspicion. Over 300 people have scoured the area, desperately searching for any sign of her. So far, nothing. But local authorities have vowed to keep looking, and until Sudiksha is found, they will continue questioning everyone involved, because somewhere out there, someone knows the truth, and her family won't rest until they find it. A routine shopping trip has turned into a mystery, one that may have ended in murder. 54-year-old Julie Buckley vanished on January 28, 2025, and while authorities fear the worst, her body has never been found. She was last seen on CCTV footage, shopping at a store in March, Cambridgeshire, England. That grainy video remains the only known sighting of her before she disappeared without a trace. But then, a chilling discovery. Days after Julie was reported missing, a fisherman made a disturbing find: human hair tangled in debris in a nearby river. Forensic testing confirmed it belonged to Julie. What happened to her? Police divers searched the water, while officers scoured the riverbanks, hoping to find more clues. But there was nothing. Then, another lead. On January 30th, a mysterious phone call was made to the police. A witness claimed they saw something suspicious near Bedlam Bridge, the very same area where Julie's hair was found. They described seeing a car parked on the wrong side of the road, and then someone throwing something into the water below. Could this have been Julie? As the investigation continued, authorities pleaded with the public. Check your dash cams. Review your CCTV footage. Someone, somewhere, may have caught something important. Julie had been missing for almost 2 weeks before police were alerted. Her home was searched, but nothing unusual was found. Then came a shocking arrest. 47-year-old Carl Hutchings from Christchurch was charged with murder. But police don't believe he acted alone. 3 other individuals were taken into custody, suspected of helping him after the fact. Their names, however, have not been released. As authorities continue the search, they've urged dog walkers, fishermen, and local farmers to keep an eye out for newly disturbed soil, any potential sign of a hastily hidden grave. Meanwhile, forensic experts are conducting further tests on the hair sample. If it is confirmed to be Julie's, investigators will be more certain than ever that she met a violent end, and Hutchings will face even graver charges. But without a body, many questions remain. What happened to Julie Buckley? If you saw anything that night, or have any information that could help investigators, you're urged to call 101, quoting Operation Dragonfish, because no lead is too small, and Julie's family deserves answers. On April 26, 2016, Michael Modesty travelled to Bangkok to attend an expo where he was exploring the possibility of buying silicone at a discounted rate to bring back to Australia for his tiling business. He returned safely to Australia on May 6th and spent the weekend with his girlfriend and his 4-year-old son. On May 8th, Modesty spoke with his girlfriend on the phone at 10:45 p.m. before going to bed. This would be his last known contact with anyone. On May 9th, he simply vanished. It is believed Michael left his home sometime after 8:30 a.m. the following morning in his dark blue 2005 Mitsubishi Magna 360 sedan. He was reported missing by his family on May 10th. When they attended his home, they found the television on and Michael's personal possessions inside, including his mobile phone and bank cards. However, Michael was nowhere to be found. This is the last known CCTV footage of Michael Modesty, taken 3 days before he went missing. The footage was captured at Adelaide Airport on the morning of May 6th, showing Modesty wearing a light-coloured jacket, emblazoned with the word Lee, light-coloured jeans, and white sneakers. In the footage, Modesty can be seen leaving the airport, looking around as if searching for someone before heading back into the building. Footage of a similar blue sedan was captured travelling around 9:20 a.m. on the morning he went missing. The vehicle was also seen passing a Light City bus at approximately 10:34 a.m. that same day. A woman who exited the bus walked past the car. Michael's vehicle was found 3 days later, parked at West Croydon. The car was unsecured and left about 15 meters south of Torrens Road, just 3 kilometers north of his home address. Michael had no prior history of going missing, and it was highly unusual for him not to contact his family or friends. Police believe that Modesty had connections to drugs and suspect he was possibly murdered because of these ties. Michael Modesty remains missing to this day, and foul play is strongly suspected in his disappearance. 29-year-old Rory Johnson Hatfield was out enjoying a night in the city of York, a place he knew very well. Rory worked alongside his father, helping run the family restaurant back in Skipton. He was sociable, warm, and he loved visiting York to unwind and celebrate with friends. On November 19th, 2015, Rory was in high spirits as he boarded a train to the city. He was heading in to witness the annual Christmas lights switch on, an event that draws thousands of people every year. He had a room booked at the York Central Travelodge on Piccadilly Street, where he planned to stay the night with friends. At some point during the evening, Rory, ever the friendly type, met 2 other hotel guests, and the group began drinking and celebrating together. Around midnight, Rory briefly returned to the hotel, but by 12:15 a.m. he was heading back out, this time with just one other man. They walked to a nearby pub, but Rory left again not long after, at about 12:30 a.m., and from that moment on, he was never seen again. Police were able to piece together a rough timeline using CCTV footage. At 12:32, Rory is spotted with his friend, walking along Tower Street. Then, at 12:38, another camera shows him alone, crossing Skeldergate Bridge, leaving York's city centre. Minutes later, Rory is seen once more, near the City Mills Flats on the opposite side of the river. In these last clips, Rory is alone. Some reports suggest he may have been running, but from the footage available, he appears to be walking calmly through the quiet night streets. Now here's where it gets concerning. To reach the balcony area outside of City Mills Flats, the place where he was last seen, Rory would have needed to climb a 6-foot wall. That same area overlooks a river. Some have speculated that he may have fallen in, or perhaps even entered the water himself. Extensive searches followed, with both canine and human teams involved. But despite every effort, there was no trace of Rory. Because of flooding in November 2015, search operations were paused, resumed, and paused again. The York Rescue Boat team also scoured the waters, but again, nothing. To this day, no evidence of Rory has been recovered, not in the rivers, and not anywhere else. While the official investigation has long focused on the river, Rory's family continues to believe that he might still be out there. They continue to post regular updates in a dedicated Facebook group. Rory Johnson Hatfield is missing, and his case, it remains open with York Police. If you have any information, no matter how small, please contact North Yorkshire Police at 101 using case number 1 21502 07141. Or you can text the charity Missing People at 116000, referencing case number 15009621, because someone, somewhere, might just hold the answer. On the night of November 14th, 2017, 36-year-old Carmel Gilmore walked into a liquor store in Parksville, Canada. She was seen on CCTV footage around 9 p.m., looking confused, disoriented, and paranoid. And then, she vanished. She's never been seen or heard from again. What happened to Carmel Gilmore? According to staff at the liquor depot on Alberni Highway, Carmel wasn't acting like herself that night. Witnesses say she seemed uneasy, almost as if she felt like someone was watching her, and maybe she was right. At the time, she was going through a breakup. Her boyfriend was ending their relationship, and he would be the one to report her missing. But his story, it only makes things more bizarre. Her boyfriend later told investigators that after she left the store, she asked him to drive with her to a place called Little Mountain. He agreed. At around 10:30 p.m., they arrived. He got out of the van expecting Carmel to do the same, but instead, she put the van in gear and sped off. She left him behind, and just like that, she was gone. At first, her boyfriend assumed she'd be back, but as the minutes stretched into hours, and then into the next morning, he realized something was very wrong. He hadn't heard from Carmel, and worse, his wallet and belongings were still in her van. The next day, he contacted the police and filed a missing persons report. Most people would immediately suspect the boyfriend. After all, he was the last person to see her. But investigators found him to be cooperative. He answered all their questions, and soon, he was ruled out as a suspect. For 6 days, there was no sign of Carmel. And then, police found her van, a 2002 Chevy Venture, sitting abandoned on Qualicum Beach, Vancouver Island. It had been sitting there since the night she disappeared, parked near a bar called Shady Rest Pub. Locals told investigators they had seen it there before, but no one had seen who left it. And when police searched the van, they found nothing, no signs of a struggle, no evidence of foul play. It was as if she had simply parked it, stepped out, and vanished into thin air. Even stranger, none of her personal belongings were inside. No clothes, no bags, nothing. Yet, there were clues that suggested she had been living in the van for quite some time. So, where did her things go? And more importantly, where did Carmel go? Carmel's mother, Barbara Gilmore, has never stopped searching for her daughter. She believes Carmel met with foul play, that someone took advantage of her vulnerability. Carmel had been homeless for a while, and Barbara fears this may have made her an easy target. But investigators disagree. They believe that either Carmel disappeared by choice, or that she may have suffered an accident of some kind. Barbara isn't convinced. In December 2023, she shared her story on the podcast True North True Crime, hoping to bring fresh attention to her daughter's case. And maybe, just maybe, someone out there knows the truth. It's been over 6 years since Carmel vanished. If she's still alive, she would be 41 years old today. She is described as 5 feet 6 inches tall, hazel eyes, short brown hair, weighing around 150 pounds at the time of her disappearance. If you have any information about what happened to Carmel Gilmore, please contact the Oceanside RCMP at 250-248-6111 and quote file number 20171-0474. Maybe someone, somewhere, remembers something, and maybe it's time for Carmel to finally come home. In small towns across America, people come and go. Routines repeat, lives unfold, and stories often remain simple. But sometimes, someone just vanishes. No warning, no explanation. Just silence. This is the story of Thomas Duncan Kalins, a 38-year-old man from Corinth, Mississippi, who walked out into the cold January morning and never came home. It was a cold morning in northeast Mississippi, the kind of cold that settles into your bones and lingers long past the dawn. Around 5:30 a.m., Duncan was last seen at a home on Mathis Road, a quiet stretch on the outskirts of Corinth. It was still dark, still, peaceful, but those few moments would be the last confirmed sighting of him. Not long after leaving the house, Duncan appeared on surveillance footage at a nearby store, the Old Bull Market, off Highway 72 West. What the footage showed was heartbreaking. He looked disoriented, cold, clearly in distress. Store employees later recalled he had no coat. He looked lost, like he hadn't slept. Out of kindness, the clerk gave him a coat, a drink, and a black shirt with yellow writing. Duncan wrapped that shirt around his legs, maybe just trying to stay warm. Then he walked out, alone, and just like that, he was gone. Since that moment, there has been no confirmed trace of Thomas Duncan Kalins. Some say they saw someone like him walking east toward Pickwick, Tennessee, but those leads went nowhere. No sightings, no phone calls, no digital footprints. His car, still back at the house. His phone, gone. His wallet, left behind. He left on foot. No destination, no explanation. To those who know him, Duncan is more than a missing person flyer. He's a brother, a friend, a man with stories and struggles, like all of us. With his red hair, his full beard, he stood out in a crowd. He was known for being kind-hearted, but yes, he was going through some things. Still, he wasn't the type to just vanish. He'd walk to clear his mind. He wandered, but he always came back. But this time was different. His brother, Sidney Shadburn, hasn't stopped searching, not for one day. He's offered a $5,000 reward for any credible information that could bring Duncan home. In interviews, Sidney shared his heartbreak, his frustration, his hope. He believes someone, anyone, knows something. Maybe Duncan got a ride. Maybe he stopped somewhere to rest. Maybe he ran into the wrong person. But without answers, there's only pain. And that haunting question, where did Duncan go? The Corinth Police Department is still investigating. But like many cases involving missing adults, progress is slow. Duncan is over 18, and there's no hard proof of foul play. That makes escalation harder, and the longer it goes, the quieter things get. But let's be very clear. This isn't just another case. This is not normal. A man walking into the freezing Mississippi cold with no phone, no money, no coat. That's not something you brush off. Flyers went up, community pages stayed active, but over time, attention fades, people move on, everyone except his family, because they're still here, still searching, still hoping. If Duncan is out there, if he's alive and struggling, we want him to know you are loved, you are missed, and it's okay to come home. And if you know something, even the smallest detail, you could be the piece that brings Duncan back to the people who love him. If you have any information about Thomas Duncan Kalins, please contact Sidney Shadburn at 662-415-3526 or the Corinth Police Department at 662-286-3377. You can remain anonymous. Disappearing without a trace in today's world is rare, so when it happens, someone always knows something. Please help us bring Duncan home. Share his story, spread the word, stay aware, because behind every missing person poster, is a family frozen in time. Raja Adriana McQueen was born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio, and was the youngest of 8 children. She attended John F. Kennedy High School and later attended Rosedale Bible College, where she studied music while working. Her cousin Alicia described her as tough and strong, but very sensitive, and loved the Lord. Raja had a deep love for music and always liked to dress nice and loved fashion. She is also a mother of 2 children, Cameron and Caden, that she deeply loves. At the age of 27, she had recently divorced and lost her brother, which caused her to suffer emotionally. On June 25, 2021, while home from college, she told her mom she was going to visit a friend. They last spoke around midnight, when Raja called her to tell her she was still with her friend. Her mother sadly didn't know this might be the last time she would ever speak to her daughter. Raja was last seen the next morning in Cleveland on a gas station video camera at East 131st and Harvard Avenue at 7:30 a.m. At that time, Raja was the passenger in her 2018 silver Nissan Sentra that was being driven by a male. A few hours later, her car was seen again, driven by the same male at 11:38 at that same location. But this time, she was no longer visible in the car. The car then showed signs of having 3 bullet holes that were not there previously. Her phone was strangely turned off at this time, and the license plates and the hubcaps were missing, and were previously there as well. Strangely, a dealer tag was noted to be placed in the back window. Her loved ones attempted to report her missing the next day, but law enforcement wouldn't immediately take the report because she was an adult. It would be a couple days later before they were allowed to make an official missing persons report, which resulted in the video footage from the gas station being discovered. About 15 search warrants have been issued, and many people interviewed. The friend she was with when she went missing has been interviewed by detectives, but his name has not been released to the public. Neither Raja nor her vehicle has ever been seen since, and the FBI has increased the reward by $25,000, on top of the already $5,000 offered by Crime Stoppers. Her large family remains devastated, seeking answers for them and her 2 sweet boys. But as of today, this case remains unsolved.